we have a very interesting. No, we don't actually. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I am going to explain to you how I don't rate books. I don't want to explain it in every video because this is just something that I have been doing for quite a few years, and I'm not planning on changing it because I don't feel like I am qualified enough to rate books to actually, I'm not a critic. I'm a reader and a writer. So if anything, I want to support my fellow authors, and um, publishing a book is really not as easy. It's these days, times have changed, yes, but still, I don't know. I just feel very weird about rating a book. Um, and I'm going to get into it today. So I've got a few examples to show you what I mean. I give everything 5 stars, regardless of my emotional response or whether I liked it or not. If there is nothing morally or ethically wrong with it, I feel like it deserves 5 stars. So basically, I use the rating system as a bit of a warning. So let's start with books that I gave 5 stars despite not liking them at all. And just to get it over with, I'll start with the most notorious one, Pelé, the autobiography. Enter Toulouse. I think she wants Spanx. Hold on. What? This is my life. Thank you. Ballet was one of our cherrypies book club picks, submitted by a viewer, and as a rule, I read both of the books that we pull each month. This was a struggle. I did not enjoy myself. In short, it is not really about Ballet's life. It's really a play by play of every single game that he ever had, and especially the goals. And when I say play by play, I mean to the second. Of course, that is an important part of Pelé's life, and his career is obviously going to be a huge part of his autobiography. But um, I expect a little bit more of a person's life when it's an autobiography, and if I'm just going to read about every goal that he made in his career. I don't know. I thought I think it's not necessarily an autobiography. So this was a struggle, and I might have DNF'd it if it wasn't for book club. But one of the reasons I have a lot of trouble DNFing a book is because you never know. It might just the story might get pulled together by the end, right? And this is a good example of that actually, because at the ending he does go into his personal life a little bit, and he does do that in the beginning as well. It's just the other 80% of the book that was just I don't know, it wasn't for me. I feel like if he had a better editor who had pushed him a little bit more on the personal stuff, it would have been a great book because there's a lot of potential in the beginning and the ending. But alas, the majority of the book is about the goals that he scored. Despite that, I still gave it 5 stars because it's not my book, but I'm sure that if you're a fan of ballet, it's a great way to experience his career again. But yeah, it just wasn't my thing. Next up, I have Galatea 2.2. I'm not sure I pronounced that right. I started this because I fell in love with the O story. If you haven't read this yet, I highly recommend this, but that's not what this video is about, so I'll put it back. Um, I read the Ova story first, and I thought this is a great author. Let's read something else. My cats are having a moment. I don't know why. They only do that when I am either streaming or filming. It's fascinating. Galatea was published in 95, and the overstory is a lot more recent in 2018, and you feel it. If to me, at least, in Galatea, it starts out really a little bit too much. You can kind of feel how the author is trying a little bit too hard. And by the time he writes the overstory, you can really feel that the experience that he got paid off. And it really, it doesn't live up to the name for me if you start with the overstory. Um, that doesn't mean it's a bad book, though. It's still a great book, but compared to the overstory, especially to me, it just was a bit of a disappointment. But again, it's still 5 stars because who knows? Maybe it's not my book, but for all I know, it is the book that saved someone else's life. 5 stars. Folk by Zoe Gilbert is a collection of short stories. I didn't realize this. I picked this up at the library, and the way I've been going about the library is kind of the way we used to go to the library before the internet and Goodreads and reviews of other people. So I just try to pick something that catches my eye and sounds interesting. Um, the problem with this one was that it only has, you know, other authors talking about the book. It doesn't really explain what it's about. I still read it, and um, I I am bad at reading short stories. This is a fact. I know this about myself. So I already go into something like this knowing that I'm going to have a little bit of a struggle getting through it. It's just not enough story to me. I like something like Wheel of Time, where I can disappear for months, months, months at a time, which is not something that's going to happen with a short story, of course. But with this especially, I felt like um, either there are too many stories and the book would have benefited from just cutting a few out of them, or they should have just been longer. Even though all the stories take place in the same village, you don't really have time to connect with any of them. And at the end, I just felt like, but what is the lesson? But isn't aren't folk stories supposed to give you a lesson? And I really didn't feel it for any of them. So it it took a long time for me to get through it. I just didn't want to get back to it, and the only reason I finished it is because I just have a hard time DNFing books. Still, even though I didn't enjoy myself, and I feel like the stories were just unsatisfying in my experience, I still gave it 5 stars. Which brings us to the books that I did give less than 5 stars. I hate to do that, by the way. I actively try not to give a book less than 5 stars. In fact, if I do end up DNFing a book, I would rather not rate at all because I don't know how it ends. I In that case, especially, I feel like I have no right to give a rating because I didn't finish it. That just seems it feels unfair to me. Please keep that in mind that I really don't like doing that. If I give something less than 5 stars, it breaks my heart. Let's start with the one that hurt the most when it comes to giving a book less than 5 stars. And I am talking about Castle in the Air. It's the second book of the Howl's Moving Castle series. I loved Howl, even though he's not really nice, is he? I assumed that I would at least enjoy myself. Maybe I wouldn't love the story as much as I did Howl, but I thought it would be at least decent. It, even though it was originally published in 1990, this edition is from 2018, I think. No, 2023 actually. So they could have changed the language, I feel like. They could have done something to make it less harmful because the stereotypes that are presented in this book are I thought it was a joke. I thought that I was missing something, and surely at some point it would become clear that the way Diana talks about these characters, surely it's I thought I was missing something, but no, it doesn't get better. It just gets worse. So I could not give this 5 stars. It it feels hurtful, and I'm not even talking on a personal level. I can't imagine being a fan of Howl and reading this and seeing yourself in these characters, but in a way that just isn't necessary. Not in these times, not in these days. There is no excuse in my eyes. I think I gave it 3 stars, and it broke my heart. And I'm sad to say that it continues in the third book as well. So I'm glad I read it, because now I can tell people, if you like Howl, if you like this author, maybe don't read the rest of the series, because you might change your mind about the author herself. And I would rather not you break your heart as well. Which brings me to the Maidens. This I read recently, and the same as with the Ova story. Actually, I went into this thinking that the author had so much potential, and surely I'll at least enjoy myself. But alas, this book was filled with misogyny, sexism, and knowing that this author has a background in psychology, very hurtful information. But the worst part was just how it was wrapped up, and who turned out to be, the guilty party of this story. The fact that it's received so well is a bit worrying to me, because I feel like that means that a lot of people just don't even realize how harmful the way women are portrayed is, and certain behavior of men is portrayed is just still normalized. So I can't give it 5 stars. I have to talk about why this isn't a good book. It could have been, but there is. I don't even know how to explain it. I go into it in my last video, what happens exactly. So if you want to know, you can check that out. So I don't want to spoil it, but basically, I was very angry, and I wish this book had not been published. And that is just silly, because I love The Silent Patient, but I doubt myself now. I wonder, did I miss something? I do plan on reading it again, and I'll let you know how it goes. Of all these books, this one was most shocking to me. No 5 stars. And lastly, I have Attached. This is quite a popular book, isn't it? I I didn't like it. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm not saying that the research they did wasn't good. They just left out a huge chunk of society that is already left out and underserved. So I'm talking about the neurodivergent people. This book is talking about these attachment styles as if they are the one and only rule. At least that's how I experienced it. At no point in the book do they explain that this might be different for autistic people, for example, and that is harmful. I felt left out. I am autistic, and um, certain ways of behavior were treated as bad, while it's just the way I am. That doesn't mean I don't like you. That doesn't mean that I'm antisocial. It's just that I'm wired differently. And at no point in this book was it explained that they're talking about neurotypical people. Yeah, that's basically it. While I can't speak for neurotypical people naturally, and I do understand the theory that they present. They present the theory as fact, and completely forget neurodivergent people, and that's not okay. So, as with the other two books that I showed you, I had to give it less than 5 stars. I'm sorry. Again, I'm not saying it's a bad book. I'm not saying that the theory is absolutely wrong, but if only they had made a disclaimer somewhere in the beginning, ending, in the middle, I don't even care where, if they had put a disclaimer that they are talking about neurotypical people, then I would have been okay. But instead, I just felt very hurt. If you don't know yet that you're neurodivergent, which I didn't know until in my 20s, you might think that there is something horribly wrong with you. I was very disappointed with this book, because I went into it thinking that I was going to learn a lot, and instead I just felt, like like there's something wrong with me, and I do know that I'm autistic. So for that reason, I can't give it 5 stars, and I hope that neurodivergent people understand that this may not apply to you. Yeah, sorry. That's it. That's basically how I either rate or don't rate books. In short, I give everything 5 stars. If I DNF, I don't give it a rating at all. And if there is something morally or ethically wrong with it, I I feel like I have a responsibility to let people know why I didn't like the book. And it really doesn't happen that often. I think in the last 2 years, there's only been 5 books in total that I wasn't able to give 5 stars. And I always hope that I'll find something in there that will make it make sense in the end. But yeah, there's a few true crime books, for example, that glorified the perpetrator and completely dehumanized the victims, and that's not okay. I'm not gonna give that any good rating at all. Even if I know I'm not gonna be enjoying myself, like with the Pelé book, I'm not into reading about sports necessarily. That doesn't mean that it doesn't deserve a good rating. Just to be clear, this is just how I do it, and I'm not saying that you should change your the way you're rating books. It's just what I do to feel comfortable and how I deal with having to have an opinion on books, because it's hard. You never know what book might be the book that changes someone's life. And it's just a fact that people are sensitive to a rating. And if something has a bad rating, some people might not even give it a go. And that's a shame. And I don't want to be the reason that someone doesn't pick up a book that could have changed their lives. So how do I keep track of the books I do like? I just made a special shelf on it on Goodreads, and I have a separate physical bookshelf for the ones I loved most, which is also a good way to keep track of the books you do like and don't like. I also have a shelf for the books that I kind of, want to warn people about. I think it also includes the true crime book, but I don't want to talk about that one. It's really sad. And that's it. Let me know if you have any questions, if I wasn't clear on some aspect. And what do you think about this way of rating books? Thank you so much for being here and making it to the end, and hope to see you in the next one. Bye. It's a bit.